Hi, my little babies. Welcome back to another episode of What the Smut Book Reviews. Welcome back to another episode of What the Smut Book Reviews. I am your host, Candace. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode. I really appreciate it. Please ignore the situation that you see going on around my collar. What had happened was, I put my shirt on after I did my makeup. I got foundation all over my collar. I tried to scrub it out, hence the wet spots on my collar. Could have changed my shirt. Would I have done the same thing to a second shirt? Probably. So I didn't. Them's the breaks. We're living with it. Let's move on. Hi. In today's episode, we are going to be reviewing a book. We're going to be reviewing a book. I'm going to seriously attempt to remember what the fuck this book is about, because it's been a hot minute since I read it. I'm behind in reviews. Candace, you? No, not you. Never you. And I have to do this one and the next one in the series that I've also finished, and try and remember what both of them are about. The second one I will definitely remember more of because I liked it better. But we'll get into that in the next video. So, for the purpose of this video, we will be reviewing the first book in, what is the name of this series even? Oh, okay, I got it. The first book in author Sav R. Miller's Monsters and Muses series, and this is called Promises and Pomegranates. Okay, first thing I want to point out is these covers are visually stunning to look at. I fucking love the way these covers look. Okay, and typically, as a rule, I hate discreet covers. The whole trend behind discreet covers annoys me. I think it goes back to that whole, like, why are we hiding what we read thing? And, like, we as women are being oppressed. Why can't we? I hate you. Why can't we read whatever the fuck we want to read? If I want to read a book that has a shirtless man on the cover, why can't I do that and not feel ashamed? Right? I should be able to do that. So the whole trend of discreet covers, people won't know you're reading a romance novel, it irritates me, TBH. I get the purpose behind it, and I understand that some people are in a position where you either have judgmental family members, or you have judgmental friends, or you have whatever, and maybe you live in an overly religious household, whatever the case may be, and you feel that you have the need for discreet covers, or to hide, basically, to hide what you're reading, or downplay the contents of the books that you're reading. I understand the need for that. So in those cases, I have to be like, okay, Candace, like, chill out. Don't go too ham, right? But for the most part, I want to be like, oh, you don't like these chiseled abs on the cover of my book? Go fuck yourself, right? And I feel like the more authors that come out of the woodwork catering to this discreet cover trend, the bigger the message is being sent that says it's okay to hide what you're doing. And if it's the more they're saying you should be ashamed of what you're reading. You know? Like, anyway, that's my 2 cents. Not that you asked for it, but you're here and you're on my channel and I can do whatever the fuck I want. So you got it anyway. If you don't like it, turn me off. Bye. However, these covers are not remake covers of an original book that had a hot man on the cover. These were just put out this way. So I have to be like, damn, Sav, these are fucking stunning. Like, they're just, God, they're so beautiful to look at. The series in general as a whole, this book and the second book especially, are just like, gorgeous. This book in particular was actually gifted to me by someone on Bookstagram. Her name is Michelle. I'll put her little handle here. I forget to memorize it. It's like something Stitch, Sexy Stitch Library, something. But she gifted this to me because she wanted me to read it so badly. Which finally I did. But we're gonna get into it because this book and this series as a whole has been so hyped on Bookstagram, and for the longest time I refused to read them. I was just like, and I do that with all books that are overly hyped on Bookstagram. I generally, as a rule, I go, I'm immediately sus. I'm immediately like, are they really good though? Or did someone pay you to say that? Did you get a free book out of it? I'm immediately sus. So when I see books like that, I'm just like, no, I'm not gonna read that. I'm gonna wait on that. I'll put it on the TBR that doesn't exist, and maybe I'll get to it someday, right? But since she physically bought me the book, she guilted me basically. When people do that, that's a surefire way to get me to read a book that I, in the back of my mind, have no intention of ever reading. If you want me to read it, you gotta buy it for me, because otherwise I probably won't. I mean, I have the good intention of doing it maybe someday at some point in the future. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But if you want me to get to it anytime soon, then you're probably gonna have to buy it from me and literally guilt trip me into it, because otherwise I'll get to it when I get to it. And there's like 4 billion books on my TBR that doesn't really exist. So 9 minutes in, let's just do the damn thing, okay? Let's do the damn thing. So this book and all the books in this series are free to read with KU. If you have Kindle Unlimited, you can read all of these books for free, okay? If you want to purchase this book for your Kindle right now, you can do so for the price of $4.99. If you want this beautiful, gorgeous trade paperback that I'm holding in my hand, you can get it right now for the price of $15.29. You can also get this book and all the books in this series, which is another thing that I fucking love about Sav, and who's another author that recently that I reviewed who does this trend. I think Amo does this trend. Amo Jones offers these books in hardcover. You can get the hardcover for the exact, and I don't know if this is a typo, for the exact same price as the trade paperback, $15.29. What? Keep in mind, if you get the hardcover, it's printed by Amazon. It's not going to come with a dust jacket. It's going to be a printed hardcover. They're going to print the picture onto the cover of the book. It's not going to come with a pretty Barnes & Noble-esque style thing that comes off. No. It's going to be like those old textbooks that you used to have in like middle school that like opened up and they were like hardcover laminated. It's going to be like that. But they're still hardcover and they're still visually stunning like this. For the same price? I still think something's wrong with that. I feel like that's some kind of error. And if it is, take advantage of it right now because you may not get another chance. This book is also available in audio. The audio for this book, I did listen to some of it and it's decent. The narrators are pretty decent. One thing I will say, and this is something I'm going to get more into when I review the second book. The narrators for this book also are the same narrators for the second book, audiobook. And for this book, they did feel like a little bit stiff. In the second book, they felt a little bit more relaxed to me, in my opinion. Almost like they had kind of relaxed into their roles as narrators. So I don't know if maybe, I have no idea how many books they have narrated as narrators before they did this series, but maybe they were like new to the narrating game. I'm not sure, but it did feel like a little bit kind of at times like a, you know, but when they got into the second narration, the narration of the second book, Vipers and Virtuosos, much more relaxed, much more flowing. Whoa, much better, right? According to Amazon, this book has 380 pages. And you know I'm gonna do it because I always do it. Oh, she has a street team. That's cool. Let me see. King's Trace Anti-Hero series. There's a series before this. Is that where Boyd has his book? Motherfucker. I'm gonna have to go back. I'm gonna have to fucking go back and read those 3 books in that series. Son of a bitch. All right. So according to this, there's 373 pages, and you promised me 380 pages. So there's a discrepancy of about 7 pages. It's not terrible, actually, Amazon. Oh, I'm gonna let you slide on this one. Okay, so I'm gonna read you guys a blurb, and then we'll break it down. This book and the next book, I wrote out 4 pages of notes on each one. You think this is a game? Like 1, 2. You think this is a game? No, baby. I have a problem. I have a fucking problem. Like, this is no joke. Okay, so let's read the blurb and then we'll try and break it down in some kind of semblance. Whatever. Okay, so the first section is from the POV of the main female character. Her name is Elena. Okay. To most, Cal Anderson is a villain, harbinger of death, keeper of souls, frequenter of nightmares. Dr. Death, Hades incarnate. They say he stole me, usurped my fiancé and filled the cracks in my heart with empty promises, imprinted his crimson fingerprints on my psyche and tried to set me free. They're not wrong per se, except it was my choice to stay. Okay, the next part is from the main male character's POV. His name is Cal. To most, Elena Ricci is an innocent, goddess of springtime, lover of poetry, angel of my nightmares. Little one, Persephone personified. They say I ruined her, shattered her virtue and devoured her soul like a succulent pomegranate. embedded my evil as deep as I could possibly get, and tried to set her free. They're not wrong, per se, except it was she who ruined me. Okay. Now, bam. Scared the shit out of the rabbit. Good. Fucking rabbit. Rabbit's a bane of my existence. Okay. So, the two main characters for this book are Cal Anderson and Elena Ricci. Okay. Who should we begin with first? Elena is the daughter of a big-ass mob boss. Okay? He also happens to be Cal's boss. Cal is used to be a surgeon by day, doctor, surgeon by day, hitman assassin by night. Okay. Hitman thug by night, whatever you want to call him. Okay. Cal was sick as a kid. He spent a lot of time in hospitals. He has like an auditory disorder. It's like it's something to do with noise. It causes him to have like panic attacks. Whatever it is, it causes him to get like massive anxiety attacks. Because of that, he is very like, I don't want to say OCD, but he's very tweaky, for lack of a better term. There is a history that started before the start of this book. It actually is being published or has been published recently by Sav in like a prequel novella. And essentially, the prequel novella is the night that Cal and Elena first have sex, when he takes her virginity. Which he does after she begs him to. She confronted him when she was 18, when she turned 18 and asked him to take her V card. Cal used to have a thing with her mom. Elena's parents are married. Like I said, her father is a giant mob boss. And Cal works for her father. However, he's getting ready to walk out of that life. Keep in mind, you're not supposed to be able to walk out of the mob life. It just isn't done. You don't really buy your way out. You don't really, pretty much the only way you get out is in a body bag, right? However, he seems to think that he's going to be able to just tell his boss, what the hell is his name? Raphael Ricci, aka Rafe, that he's done. I'm done. And that Rafe is gonna just let him go. I've done enough for you. I'm gonna leave. I've had enough. I'm out. It's not that easy, bro. So the book opens with Cal meeting with Rafe and showing him a USB drive that contains a video of him, Cal, having sex with Elena. Someone videotaped them having sex, him taking her, the night he took her virginity. Cal claims that someone dropped the video off with him and he's being blackmailed. And that whoever it is threatening to come after Elena and that he's the only one that can protect her. Elena is slated to marry someone else. This is literally, he's doing this on the day of her wedding. She's slated to marry this guy named Mateo, who's like this uber rich playboy He also beats the shit out of her. Like, they fight consistently. Keep in mind, she can hold her own. From the time that she was a little girl, she has had this, I don't want to say like kink or fixation on pain, but like, I think it goes back to like her wanting to live up to her father's expectations of her. And because the mob life is so full of violence and whatever, she thought that if she learned how to fight and how to properly take a punch, that her dad would be proud of her, that her dad would see her as valuable, like, right? It's twisted, but in her mind it makes sense. So her and her fiance scrap all the time, and he's routinely popping her one. She pops him back, but he does routinely beat the crap out of her. So she's constantly showing up with bruises and stuff, which Cal sees. He don't like it, but that's another thing entirely. So Rafe has recently been dealing in some shady shit. There's apparently like a drug ban going on with like all the families. They've all agreed not to deal in drugs in the city. Rafe has been doing that on the low. So it could be, he thinks it could be any number of his enemies who could be coming after his daughter. So Cal kind of like bluffs it and is like, listen, I'll walk out of here right now. I just want to let you know your daughter's in danger. Go ahead, trust her to Mateo. No big deal. Rafe does not want Cal anywhere near her. Because Rafe knows that Cal used to fuck his wife. Which doesn't get revealed until later on in the book. But he knows. So he goes to walk out, Cal. And Rafe is like, fuck. Okay. Just wait. So he says, take her. You take her. You take care of her. Protect her. Rafe's like, okay. So Elena is in her bridal suite. She gets called by somebody who works for Cal. I forget if she's like a housekeeper or like his assistant. She works in his like household. And she comes to the bridal suite and says, your fiance needs to see you. Well, he's requesting to see you. And Elena's like, before the wedding? That's such bad luck. He's not supposed to see me in my dress. And she's like, he's insisting that you come see him. And she's like, oh, God. So she goes to the room that Mateo's supposed to be staying in. And she finds him there, doubled over, vomiting his guts up. And who steps out of the shadows but Cal? When she looks closer, she sees that there's a knife buried in his gut. Cal has essentially stabbed him. He gurgles his last gurgle. He dies. Cal places him on the bed and covers him up with a blanket. And then in comes her parents, or her father. In comes her father, and then in comes her father, and the priest. And they force her to marry Cal with her dead fiance in the bed behind them. She's like, what the fuck is going on? But at the same time, she's like, okay, I mean, I really didn't want to marry Mateo anyway. And I do have a sick fascination with Cal. He took my V card. And I do kind of have a thing for him. But she's still like, what the fuck is happening? And she's looking at her father like, you sanctioned this? You're marrying me off to him? And her dad's just like, yeah. So he forces her to marry him. Then forces her on a plane to his island, which is like off the coast of, it's like off, takes place in like Boston, I think. And apparently there's like little islands off the coast. There's like little islands off the coast of Boston where apparently he has a giant mansion. Slightly decrepit, but still giant mansion that he's purchased that used to be a hotel. It's on the less populated side of the island. And this is the point of the book where it gives us the backstory of Cal's upbringing, where it tells us that Cal grew up very poor. He grew up with a single mom who worked, I can't remember, it was like a daycare, and they would basically eat like one meal a day, and she would save their money in order to take him to this little island once a year in the off season, like the winter time, to give him some type of sense of normalcy, of like a little vacation. And later on, she got sick with cancer and she died. He met Raphael Ritchie and his wife, Carmen, in the hospital. I can't remember if he met Carmen in the hospital, but he definitely met Raphael in the hospital on one of the last visits where he was there with his mom. Raphael was there visiting his grandmother, and he ran into Cal. They started chatting, and basically after Cal's mom passed away, like he gave Cal a job at like 13. It was like he's super young. And they kind of nurtured him in a sick, twisted way. And then when he came of age, he became like attracted to Carmen. So yeah, he developed a sick fascination for like Carmen, and her being neglected by Rafe and just being a general gross bitch, started sleeping with him when he was like 16, 17. He was young, very young. And she started having sex with him. And he would later on, after Elena was born and she grew up, and then as she came of age, her 16th-ish birthday, shortly before that, before he became disillusioned with Carmen and realized what a conniving bitch she was, he used to write notes of poetry and leave them on the balcony of what he thought was Carmen's bedroom. It turned out to be Elena's bedroom. She was getting all of those notes and reading them, which caused her to develop feelings for Cal, which then subsequently led to her asking him to take her virginity. So, yeah, it's a very sick, it's a very twisted game that's been played here. So, on the island. The island is where he met Jonas. Jonas is like his business partner. Jonas runs and like half owns a bar. I forget the name of the bar, but it's located on the side of the island where Cal's house is. And it's essentially, the bar is allegedly like a front for a ring of spies and assassins, one of which is Jonas. Jonas used to be very famous. He grew up on the island, on the other side of the island, and he had a very good looking face, and he got into modeling, and he skyrocketed to fame, and he was basically the island's ticket to fame. He was their claim to fame, and they were proud of him, and they were all, you know, they all gloated. Oh, Jonas is from here. Jonas is from, right? Except Jonas wasn't just a model. Jonas was also a killer. And he accidentally got caught trying to assassinate the owner of the island. I forget his name. It's like Primrose, something Primrose. And I can't remember if he went to jail or if he got off, but either way, Jonas ain't famous no more. Okay. Jonas got scandaled and canceled, and now he's banished to the unpopular side of the island, and he has a big ass restraining order against him. So he hides out in this little bar, this dive bar that he half owns, with Cal and the other League of Assassins that hide out behind the scenes of the bar. And essentially Cal works with him. So that is Cal's, basically his backstory. So he has now taken Elena to the island against her will. He deposits her in his house, and he says, "This is your home now. You're married to me. You're mine. And I'm keeping you." And keep in mind, they have crazy good chemistry together. Like, they're the sex is hot. The sex is hot. If there was one thing that I was put off by when it comes to the sex scenes, he had a penchant for, like, when it came to like the dirty talk, he had a penchant for using phrases like "cum slut" and things like that, and that's not my thing. So when he would say that, I would go, no, don't do that. But other than that, I don't know if you can tell or not from what I've told you so far and based on the blurb, but this is essentially Sav's like loose retelling of Hades and Persephone. So shortly after Cal gets her to the island, there's an article that hits the news and the newspapers. And keep in mind, she has her phone. So Elena confronted him after she read all of the poetry notes and asked him to take her virginity. At first, he was like, girl, no. And he refused. Then her father put him on like bodyguard duty to guard her. And the more he was around her and the more he watched her, the more into her he became. And the more away from Carmen he distanced himself. And it didn't help that, or it didn't hurt that Carmen was starting to show her colors as like a true bitch around that time. So after a while he broke, and that's when he took her virginity. So yeah. So shortly after he gets her to the house, an article hits the news, all the news outlets, the internet, the newspapers, everything. Sorry, my nose is just... he gets notified. They're like, have you seen this? I don't remember who shows him. I think it's Jonas, maybe. Have you seen this? And the articles say that Elena has been kidnapped. And they're referring to him as like Dr. Death, I think, by Cal. And the articles are saying that this is being confirmed by her parents. So first things first is he's furious, because now Rafe is essentially starting a war with him, trying to make it look like he's kidnapped Elena. And keep in mind, no one knows where his house is. No one knows where he lives. So I don't know. I can't remember. I think he gives her a phone. She doesn't have her own phone, but he gives her a phone at some point. So she calls her parents. She calls her sisters, but she doesn't tell them where she is, because she knows that they know she hasn't been kidnapped. So she's like, why are they saying this? Cal doesn't know that she knows about the news articles, but she does. And she doesn't understand why, when they're the ones that gave her to him. Her father was in the room when she was forced to marry him. So she can't figure out their game. Like, what are you playing at? What are you trying to do? Cal thinks that it is a way to coerce him back into working for Rafe, because obviously Rafe is not just going to let him walk away from that life. So one night they're in like his study, and they end up having sex like on his desk. And then literally right after that, a package shows up on the doorstep with another flash drive in it. And it's a video of what just happened, literally like 20 minutes ago, in the study of them having sex. So he knows that someone is actively watching them in his house. So something's going on. So he contacts his friend Boyd, who works with an investigation like agency. It's in Kings Trace, Maine. And Boyd works with them. Jonas also works with them. So it's like their contact for anything that having to do with like technical shit, you call Boyd, right? So he's got Boyd working on this. I want to know who the fuck sent me this flash drive. And Boyd's like, okay, I'll look into it. We'll try and figure it out. They can't figure it out. So over the course of the next however many days, weeks, whatever, they kind of settle into this like tentative married life relationship. It's like a love-hate thing. And they're getting to know each other while also holding like off and on hostility for each other. So at one point he takes her to the bar that he owns with Jonas, and something happens and he has to step outside. He tells the bartender to watch over her. She's in like a booth at the back. He tells the bartender to watch over her. The bartender's name is Victor. She doesn't want to be left behind. She's sick of being drug around everywhere and not having a say of what the fuck where she goes and what she does. So she tries to follow Cal outside. The bartender tries to stop her. And she doesn't know that Cal has told the bartender to watch her. So she's like, get the fuck out of my way, dude. And he's like, no, you need to stop. And so, of course, he tries to put his hand on her, and she hits him. And they start to legit fight. Because obviously Elena knows how to take a punch. And she's had the crap kicked out of her multiple times. So she knows how to take a punch, and she knows how to give a punch. So they start to legit fight until he pulls like a hypodermic needle out of his pocket. And keep in mind, she was drugged before to get to the island. Cal had to drug her to get her to the island. She freaks out. She does not want to be drugged again. And she loses her shit. She beats the crap out of this guy. And right before she's getting ready to walk out the front doors, he jabs her with the needle in like the bottom of her leg. She panics, turns around, and like loses her sense of direction of where she's going, ends up going out the back door, runs down the alley, loses direction again. She ends up at an abandoned bus station or train station, I can't remember, where clearly crackheads and shit hang out. And she sits down on like the bench inside, and the drugs are starting to kick in. And she gets her phone starts to ring, and it's Cal. And she answers. And he's like, where are you? And she's like sluggish and she can't answer. And then finally she's like, I don't know. And then he tells her, like, describe, whatever. And she says something about a bus station. And he's like, fuck, don't go to sleep. Don't go to sleep. She passes out anyway. She can't help it. She's fucking drugged. So by the time he gets there, there have been people, guys, like a group of guys have been there and done stuff to her. Like her clothes are disheveled, her clothes are half off. There is another, I can't remember if it's another flash drive or if it's like a message that's been taped to the glass by someone having to do with like her parents. It's like, it was clearly left there by either her parents or someone working for her parents. and meaning they knew she was there and she was vulnerable, and they didn't do anything to help her. They just let her basically get assaulted. I don't think that the guys that were there actually raped her. I can't remember that. I don't think they did, but they did like other stuff. They like at one, he describes like one of them like ejaculated into her hair. It was gross. So he's homicidal. He takes her back home. She wakes up, takes her out to the outbuilding behind his house, where he has Victor, the guy that shot her with the needle, basically tied up, and he lets her watch while he kills him. And she doesn't mind at all. In fact, it turns her on. And then they go inside and they have sex. And I was like, okay. Maybe I think they have shower sex after he kills Victor. They don't have, she doesn't take a shower before. I think that's what happens. But yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, around the time that this whole thing with the needle is going on, there's a flashback scene where it shows Cal as a little boy. His mother has just died from cancer, and he has been given a letter. The letter was written by his mom, and it's basically divulging the name of his birth father, his biological father. It turns out that his biological father was married, and it tells his father's name and address. He goes to the house where his father lives, hoping that his father will want him now, even though it tells him in the letter that his dad didn't want anything to do with him when his mom got pregnant. He goes to the house and knocks on the door, and instead of his father answering, a little girl answers the door. And the little girl is clearly his sister, his half-sister. At that point, he gets scared and he runs away. Obviously, he comes back later because present day, he has made contact and multiple times with the same girl. Her name is Violet. And he has been attempting throughout this book to give her money. She isn't in the best of circumstances financially. And Cal, it turns out, has an inheritance coming his way from his paternal grandfather that he needed to marry by age 25 in order to collect. Hence Elena. And now he's got that inheritance coming to him. He doesn't really need it. He has money. But he's going to take the inheritance and he wants to give it to Violet. She doesn't want anything to do with him. I'm still unclear as to why. Like, it didn't really from what I remember from the book, I don't remember really being satisfied with the explanation as to why she doesn't like him. Because it's not like he came and like destroyed the hopes and dreams of her family. Not that I remember, but it's possible. But he keeps trying to deposit money into Violet's bank account, and she keeps rejecting the funds. And Violet finally comes to the island. He tricks her into coming to the island at the prospect of a job. When she gets there, she realizes that the job is at the bar he owns. And she turns around and dips back out. He disappears. All of that happens around the time that this, like right after this incident with the needle happens. Elena runs into Violet standing outside of the bar. And when she finds out that Violet knows Cal, she thinks that it's someone that Cal is sleeping with. And she gets uber jealous and makes a big stink. And finds out later that it's actually his sister. She feels super embarrassed. But it just goes to show that she is developing like feelings for him as well. And he's like legit obsessed with her at this point. Like, yeah. So throughout the entire book, anytime that they've been intimate with each other, Cal refuses to take his clothes off. She's starting to notice that this is a trend. It's not just circumstance because they're in a hurry or because it's somewhere public and they have to have like a quickie or whatever. Like he refuses to take his shirt off. He takes her down to the beach one day and she wants to go swim. She gets in the water. He has a moment of sheer panic. She tells him to get in the water and he has a moment of sheer panic. And when he finally takes his shirt off, it's after he's told her basically to cover her eyes or to like turn around. He takes his shirt off and he gets in the water. And when she touches him, she feels that like underneath his tattoos and whatever, that he's covered in scars. Not just like bullet wounds, but like knife wounds, cuts. Like he's got massive scarring everywhere. And it's something he's been embarrassed about for like a long time. He's been like hyper embarrassed, super embarrassed about. He thought that she would find him hideous. And instead, she accepts him how he is. And it's like takes a huge weight off of him. And from that point on, they kind of start to develop a real relationship with each other. She starts to express like the desire to want to see her sisters. She misses her sisters. One of her sisters has a ballet recital coming up, and she's never missed one of her sister's recitals. And so she starts to feel down about it. And he can't stand to see her like that. So he breaks and he tells her, I'll take you to visit your family in Boston. And she's elated. How the heck he's going to do that when he's wanted for kidnapping? I don't know. So he does. He takes her. As soon as they step off the plane, paparazzi. Like literally. Newspaper people everywhere. Where have you been? Were you held against your will? How long are you going to be here? Where are you staying? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Right? They go to a hotel. They're staying in a hotel, obviously, for obvious reasons. They go to a family dinner at her parents' house. Turns out her dad is in a lot of trouble with money. When she flaked off the marriage to Mateo, he was into some shady dealings with Mateo's family. He lost a lot of money on that deal. When they lost that marriage contract. So he's in some big trouble, money-wise. And so now that's one of the reasons why he has it out for Cal. So they go to a family dinner at her parents' house. Her mother comes downstairs drunk as a fucking skunk. Literally drunk as a fucking skunk. And proceeds to tell everyone at the table how her and Cal used to fuck each other. And how, like, he's still hung up on her, and sorry, Elena, but, you know, just, she literally just puts all of the dirty laundry out on the table. And Elena, who is now in love with her husband, is heartbroken because he didn't tell her that he had an affair with her mother. So at first she wants to cry, and then she just kind of shuts down, like she's cold. Shut down. And she gets up from the table and she leaves. And she walks out and she goes to the recital. Everybody else leaves the table. Carmen's there. Cal walks up and basically takes like the butt of his gun and whacks her across the head with it. Sorry, bitch, you deserve that. I'm sorry. He goes to the recital, finds Elena in their private box. They basically have like a hate fuck between each other, where he kind of, it's on his part, it's like a desperation fuck. It's like a please don't leave me, I'm in love with you type fuck. And for her, it's like a I hate you, make me feel something other than that type fuck. So they do that. And then she excuses herself to go to the bathroom, and she doesn't come back. And after a few minutes, he realizes that she's not coming back. And she ends up going to her grandmother's like little secret rendezvous pad apartment in the city that nobody is allegedly supposed to know about. He knows where it is. And he goes and he stands outside with the intention of dragging her back to the island. And then he realizes that he doesn't want to do that. He wants her to choose him. He wants her to come to him. So after standing outside of her grandmother's apartment for hours, he leaves and he goes back home without her. And she stays there for several days. And after talking to her sisters, she comes to the realization that she loves him and she wants to go back home. She wants to go home to Cal. She goes back to her home to get some shit from her bedroom, and when she walks in, she finds her mother sitting on her bed. Her mother proceeds to tell her that she was jealous of her from the day she was born, because she knew, just from looking at her, that she was going to be the center of attention in any room that she was in. And as she grew up, she knew that Elena was going to steal all of the love and all of the attention from everyone that used to give the attention to her. And so over the course of Elena's life, she grew to hate her, which is what caused her to tell her last night, or the other night, that her and Cal had slept together. She cries a little bit, crocodile tears. Elena slaps the shit out of her several times. She gets it. She gets it. She gets a smacking right across the face. And she leaves her mom crying hysterically in a heap, like right there in her bedroom. And she walks out of the house with like a box of shit. And she leaves. And she goes back to the island where she walks in on Cal and Violet sitting out on like the back patio area, where Violet has come to him to have like a little heart-to-heart to basically tell him, hey, I don't hate you, but I also don't want anything to do with you. You're gonna have to give me some time, bro. Stop calling me. Stop whatever. And he tells her, I have completely dissolved the trust. The money is gone. Don't worry, I'm not sending you any more money. I'll stop trying. And he does. And Violet sees Elena come in. Elena shows up and is holding up a piece of paper. What the fuck is this? To Cal. And Violet sees that she's hot. She's in a temper. She's in a state. And Violet's like, that's my cue to go. I'm out. And Violet leaves. And Elena walks up to him and goes, what the fuck is this? And holds it out. And it's papers for an annulment of a marriage. And he looks at her and he's like, I'm giving you what you want. I'm letting you go. I'm letting you out. And she proceeds to tell him, that's not what I want. And at first he's like, it's too good to be true. In his mind, anything that would truly make him happy is too good to be true. What's the catch? And there is no catch. I love you. I want to be with you. And they have their little makeup sesh where they have sex and they profess their love for each other. And she carves her initials into his chest to match the initials that he carved into her thigh the first time they had sex when he took her virginity, because he did. He marked his territory the first time they had sex. Later on, he goes to visit the investigation agency that Boyd works at, because he thinks he's gotten a message saying that Boyd wants to see him, that they've gotten some information on his blackmailer. Okay, cool. So he has to go to Maine to the headquarters of the agency. So he goes. He walks in. When he gets there, there's nobody there. It's fucking empty. Where the hell is everyone? He walks in. The whole floor is dead. when he gets inside, there's one person sitting at like the reception desk, and it's not Boyd. It's his sister Riley, his little sister Riley, with her little cap of blonde hair like mine. And she has her feet, her Converse covered feet, propped up on the desk. And she looks at him, and he's like, Riley, what are you doing here? I'm here to see Boyd. And she's like, no, you're not. You're here to see me. I called you. And he's like, the fuck? Why? And she slides 2 thumb drives across the table to him. One is the first thumb drive that he showed to Rafe in the beginning of the book. His thumb drive. Turns out, in the beginning of the book, there was no blackmailer. He was the blackmailer. He made up the initial blackmailer in order to get Elena to marry him. However, the second thumb drive was a legit blackmailer. However, the person never asked for anything. They just had the video on the thumb drive. It turns out that the second blackmailer was Riley, Boyd's sister. And she's like, it's amazing what you can find on the internet. It's amazing the information that you can find when your brother owns a security company and shows you how to hack into all this shit. And you intern for him and you help him out around the office. And she's like, I've learned a lot about you. And he's like, what do you want? And she tells him, I've done something bad and I need to disappear. And he's like, there's only one way that I can think of to make someone disappear. And that's for you to die, basically. And she's like, let's do it. She wants him to help her fake her own death, basically. And that's the actual end of the book. There's a tiny epilogue that's like fast forward. I think it's like, I can't remember if it's like a year into the future or something, but him and Elena have a daughter named Quincy. And it's like a little cute little beach scene. Elena has decided to become an author. She's going to write her own books. And they're living on the island, and he's out on the beach with their daughter, and Elena comes out to meet them. And it's basically like him retrospecting or introspecting or whatever the fuck the word is about how lucky he is. And the end. It's so fucking cute. So yeah, that's essentially that, kiddos. An hour and 20 minutes later, Jesus Christ. So, for the rating for this book, I gave it a solid 9. I liked it a lot. I am going to be honest. The beginning of the book was kind of confusing for me. Could it be my trash brain? Yes. I felt a little bit like there were a lot of plot lines going off in different directions, or that there were a lot of little tidbits that I needed to remember, that were just like, it felt like too much at once. Almost as if like there were too many details like crammed into the first few chapters of the book that could have been more spread out. Even though I know that doesn't make sense, because if you spread them out more, then it changes the entire plot of the book. But do you understand what I'm saying? So in the beginning, the very first few chapters, I was taking notes like mad. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Because I was 100% sure I was going to forget shit. So I think that's why I took so many notes, because I was literally like, oh my God, now she's talking about this, and now she's talking about this, and then she's mentioning this, and then she's talking about this over here, and then it felt like too much. Again, trash brain. I don't know. So, however, once I got past the first few chapters and I got into it, I was into it. And again, the only thing for me that was like even a slight turnoff was that bit with like the dirty talk. When he was like, oh, my little cum slut, you know what I'm saying? And that little bit with the dirty talk, it's just not my thing. That was literally the only thing I didn't care for in the sex scenes. Otherwise, they were like, whew, it was hot, okay? So yeah, I gave it a solid 9. Would I recommend this book to other people? Yes, it was hot. Would I recommend this series to other people? Fuck yes. I can't wait till the 3rd book comes out in audio and I actually can listen to it, because right now, the amount of time I have to devote to physical reading is almost nothing. So I need audio. I need the 3rd book in audio. It's Jonas's book is the 3rd one. Give it to me. Okay. So, I would recommend this book and this series to other people. I will say that there are probably some trigger warnings that I should have thrown in there, but I didn't. Read them yourself on Amazon. Sorry, I don't do my research. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, if you like me and you like my channel, please consider subscribing. I really appreciate it. If you would like, you can follow me on social media. I do have a members only Facebook group, an Instagram, and a Twitter devoted to this channel. Yeah, I will link them all in the description box below, and I'll put a little banner here on the screen for you guys to see. I really appreciate you guys joining me for another episode, and I will see you in my next one. Suggestive. I love you so much. I'll see you in my next video. Bye. We will be reviewing in this video the first. There's something in my eye. Oh my God, there's something in my eye. Stupid fucking rabbit fluff. Okay. Is it gone? I think it's gone. Okay. Persephone embedded my evil Candace. Get your fucking shit together. Okay. Rabbit, why do you hate me? Why do you hate me? Tea. He's like, drink a little bit, scratch a little bit, drink a little bit, scratch a little bit. Shake a little bit, drink a little bit, scratch a little bit, drink a little bit, shake a little bit, drink a little bit, move a little bit. Yeah. You got it? Here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye, Mom.
Bye. That he's covered in scars. Oh God, okay. That's one down. That's one down. And the next one, Vipers and Virtuosos. I can't wait to do that one because I fucking love that book. I was obsessed. Like Aiden. Like Aiden was obsessed. Aiden was fucking legit obsessed with Riley. loved him. Love me a good stalker. Give me a good stalker any day of the week. Any day of the week, brah. Okay. Can't swallow. Okay. I love you. I'll see you later.